tuning in to Smart 24 TV. This is another edition of Financial Markets. My name is Anthony Sebale and I am your host. Now, coming up on FX Stock Exchange, in monitoring the stocks here in Africa has a lot of news for you. And among those, we have some of the top news from South Africa in Johannesburg and the Uganda Stock Exchange as well. Elsewhere within East Africa, the Nairobi Securities Exchange and its associate, the Central Depository and Settlement Corporation, have terminated a more than 10-year bond revenue sharing agreement after the central bank rattled the bond market through the establishment of its own trading platform on government bonds in Nairobi. That's a story you don't want to miss out on today on the show. But first, about Altex East Africa. They're our sponsor here and they are the #1 private stock exchange within East Africa. What Altex is saying is that you can do something new and simply grab your phone and dial *292# and follow the prompts. When you do so, you will be able to, first of all, access the market. Number 2, you will learn more about the bonds. You will learn more about how the market really works. Number 3, you will be able to transact. You can buy, you can also sell on Altex East Africa. Altex East Africa is regulated by the Capital Markets Authority of Uganda, and they are licensed to carry out the trade on treasury bonds or fixed income securities here in East Africa. That is in Kenya, in Uganda and Tanzania. They have expanded their wings now to stock. Do have Safaricom trading on Altex East Africa. So you can buy Safaricom stocks using Altex. Altex East Africa opens their markets at exactly 8 a.m. and closes at 3 p.m. East African Standard Time. Altex East Africa, you can do something new. Of course, let's delve first into the business of the Uganda Securities Exchange. On Monday, the day opened with a gain on the all-share index. There was a 5.3 jump on the all-share index, consequent of the good performance of especially the domestic stocks. Now, the day saw just about 51.6 million Ugandan shillings transacted on the market, over 1.5, close to 1.5 million shares on the Uganda Stock Exchange. Currently, the Uganda Stock Exchange has 17 trillion Ugandan shillings worth of market capitalization. However, the market is marked by 10 domestic listings and 8 cross-listed companies, mainly from the Nairobi Securities Exchange. In aggregate, 4 equities participated in trade. And when I talk about the 4 equities that participated in trade, we have a surprise on the market. That was British American Tobacco Uganda, with a trade of just 1 single share on Monday. But well, that's good news because the stock has spent over the last 1.5 years without a single trade on the Uganda Stock Exchange. But well, yesterday, the British American Tobacco Uganda stock traded 1 share, which was amazing for the stock. This share did not have any impact on the price, of course, with the price maintained at 15,000 Ugandan shillings. Other participants included MTN Uganda, with MTN trading 94,540 shares, and Bank of Baroda Uganda leading the participants there with a trade of 200,000 shares. However, Stanbic Bank Uganda came on top of the table with 1.21 million shares on the market. The day's trade actually did not show much improvement comparing with the Friday trades in as far as the volume and the size of the market are concerned. Now, regarding the performance of the USE market indices, the all-share index, like I mentioned earlier on, jumped up to at least 986 points after a gain of 5.30 points, which is a 0.54% appreciation. However, the all-share index is still suffering losses weekly of about 1.42%, and at least 4-week losses of about 6.77%, an overall year-to-date loss of about 18.63% on the Uganda Securities Exchange. The USE Local Company Index, which tracks the aggregate performance of the 10 domestic stocks or the 10 domestic listings, increased by 0.71%. When you look at the trading space in Uganda, the World Bank's suspension of loan issuance to Uganda has begun to bite really hard on Uganda. Remember, World Bank consequent of the assent of the President, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, to the Anti-Gay or Anti-Homosexuality Act 2023, suspended loan issuance for the coming financial year to Uganda. This will not affect the loan issuance within this financial year, but within the next financial year, that is 2024-2025. Well, this has come with consequences, and we have so many lenders to Uganda that have already expressed their worry, and other funders worrying that this could impact how they have been investing in the country. The country's currency has also seen a weakening in the past few weeks after this pronouncement by World Bank. However, there are talks with World Bank and the Ugandan government to ensure that this does not happen. World Bank funds close to about, in as far as the money is concerned, about 5.4 billion $5.4 billion US of worth of projects. They have funded, for example, projects like the Kampala Metropolitan Area project. They have other projects that have been ongoing, especially infrastructure development projects in Uganda. Now, pulling out funding will mean a lot of limping for the projects that have already been underway, and a lot of delays for the projects that have been in plan, especially big infrastructure projects within the country. Uganda is a net importer. Our goal is to be a net exporter, and that affects the way also our currency plays out on the international market. It means we buy dollars usually because we need to purchase these imports using this dollar, and that has a negative impact on the currency. Whenever anything happens, the dollar can get really expensive for the Ugandan shillings. That and more is what we have been seeing in the news recently, and we hope definitely this will be a good discussion for the government of Uganda and the World Bank, and have this ironed out, because it will have a lot of devastating impact. But there will also be opportunities within created for our country's productivity, for our own funding. We've seen the treasury bonds, for example, slightly reduce over the last 1 year, and this is government trying to protect the private sector, and that means they are looking for funds elsewhere, and that as well can create much more opportunities for government to be able to invest within the country and have a better productivity out of its citizens. Well, back to the Uganda Stock Exchange. Amongst the gainers, Stanbic Bank Uganda led the gainers this time round on Monday with a gain of 1 Ugandan shillings. Yes, Stanbic Bank Uganda is back at it. He was the top mover, and secondly, the top gainer for the day. Now, Stanbic Bank Uganda Limited is part of Africa's leading financial institution and the Standard Bank in South Africa. It is the largest financial institution in Uganda, licensed under